Invite. Copy link. Let's go right here. I blow my nose.
What's with the shit? What's with the shit on the on?
You say what?
What's with the shit on? I'm like, what is he talking about?
No.
What's taking us? Cause I'm tripping right now. Put that.
No, I ain't tripping at all. I'm just being real. I'm looking at it like this. Like I say, date who you want to date. If it's real, it's real. It's gonna show you. Ain't gotta justify it. You ain't gotta explain it to nobody why you pick what you pick. You ain't gotta sit up and go, oh well, I don't fuck with the sisters because they act like this, and so I got that. No, you ain't gotta do that. But see, I always use the example like going to Tay Diggs, okay, or Scottie Pippen. Scottie, not an attractive man, not at all. I could see why he got what he got. Because there ain't nobody checking for Scott.
Well, that's not true. Let me tell you something about black men. Let me tell y'all something about black men that y'all don't know. Y'all say shit like that, and do y'all know? Do you all know? I've dated plenty. I dated a nigga that looked like Shrek.
Yeah, you know what?
I
totally agree with you, Alicia.
I lied to you not. He looked like Shrek.
No, I met some girls that dated some,
and he was really nice to me, like really nice to me. He was a nice person, but I'm just saying, but I ain't, man. You see how fat I am, and I was fatter than this back then because I had a waist and everything. Now I was the whole thing. I was the whole thing. But what I'm saying though, I was aware that he was ugly, like he was an ugly guy, but he was so nice to me, and I liked like he was sharp as hell. Nigga was always fly. Always. Ain't had no money. He ain't had no bunch of money, but I liked him, and we had fun together. So y'all sell yourself short when y'all think a woman is just looking at what y'all looking. I dated plenty of nice looking niggas that ain't worth a damn. Like ain't worth.
I got plenty of. I got 3 sisters, and I totally agree with you.
See?
And that's a stereotype. Black women, yeah. A lot of them don't look at looks.
We don't.
A small percentage of them do.
Let me tell you what
a lot of them don't.
A lot of them don't. About a black man. I love about a black man.
You treat them right, they don't care how you look.
If y'all got something, black men have a swag that's
right. That's what I've heard.
Y'all got a swag that can't nobody. I don't care how many white, Asian. I don't care who tries to duplicate y'all swag. Ain't nobody. It ain't no swag like y'all swag. It's no swag like y'all swag.
But look, with that being said, okay, I'll agree with that. I agree with everything you said. But with that being said, then why is there so many sisters running around hollering about it ain't no black men? Now, if you both of y'all just paint the example that, okay, well, we take in the not so attractive looking guys or this and that, or the handsome guys. So that pretty much opens up the whole spectrum of black men. You got the ugly motherfuckers, and then you got the nice looking motherfuckers.
I used to love me a fat daddy. I love me a fat daddy now.
I think that's what's popping now. That's the trendy shit.
No, I'm talking about I've always loved a fat daddy. Anybody that's big that look like he know what some good food is and some hair on his chest, baby, I'm there for it all.
Alicia is crazy.
I mean, I dig it. But look, I'm saying, but with that being said, then why is it that so many sisters are saying there ain't no black men? It's a shortage. Let
me tell you why. So part of the problem is that again, we're talking about a narrative controlled by the media. Because essentially what they're trying to do is they're trying to push black women who are there. They did a study and they're basically saying that black women they're like really refusing to date outside their race. They want to date black men, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're also saying that black men are dating other races at a higher rate. Mm-hmm. So the narrative, like the narrative, I don't know the narrative to be true. Now I have sprinkles in my family. Well, I have a lot of men in my family, and the majority of the men, I would say 98% of the men that are in my family date black women.
Okay.
They might touch a Becky here and there, but when you talk about love and building something, they're with black women. So I don't know that if that narrative is actually a true narrative or not. But
I don't think so either. I have a lot of men in my family too. It's the same way. They all married black women.
I think that they're also, because you hear about how black women are the most educated and we're at a higher rate. So I think that part of the problem is that black women are being taught that a man's worth equates to what he can match with yours, right? So there's no longer any camaraderie or companionship. Like, and I'm not saying, like, real talk, like, I'm not gonna date no man who cannot enhance me, right? But enhancing me doesn't necessarily mean financially.
Okay.
Right? I just have to have somebody that can. I can also. I didn't come needing anything into a relationship, if that makes any sense. Like, I already had shit that I had coming in, right? So the stuff that I can maintain what I have. He can maintain it too. But if you're working on, there's nothing wrong with having a man that works with his hands. There's nothing wrong with having a man that is a blue collar man. We are being led to believe that a man needs to match our wealth. And then you have a lot of women that are being raised by toxic women. Yep. Who are saying you don't need a man, you don't need a man for this, you don't need a man for that, do this, do that. Where, back then I remember growing up, we were told, don't you lay down with no man and get up with no wet ass. That didn't mean sell your pussy, but that meant that you don't lay down with anybody who cannot do anything for you. Like that's you don't do that. You don't lay down with anybody who does not respect you. Like, it was a whole broad spectrum of things that meant, but they're not being taught that now. They're like, women are really being taught, if you have sex with him, make sure he gives you something. Wow. Make sure he buys you something.
But that's not necessarily, that's not a new thing. That's not a new thing though. Because my thing is as long, and not from my mother, not from my mother, but women I've grown up that was older than me always told me, as long as you got a, you know what,
you should never be broke. They called it a pocketbook. Is what they called it. You got a pocket. But it was a way.
You should never be broke.
But it was a way that they did it though, Abby. It was a way that they did it. They weren't out here doing the shit that they out here doing now. As long as you had a pocketbook, you had money, and that's real talk. As long as you got this, if you know how to use it, somebody gonna take. My mom used to tell me all the time, baby, you can spend all your money on clothes because as long as you look good, somebody gonna feed you. She ain't lying. That's not a lie. That's not a lie. But my mother also taught me that I needed to work hard and I need to have some respect in myself. So when you talk about little boys blowing the horn at you, you didn't get to look out a window. You got shit slapped out of you, look out a window. You ain't selling pussy. Why you looking out that window? Make that young boy come up to this door and ring the doorbell. So those were lessons being taught. So even though you were told that you had a pocketbook, that you would never be broke, you were also told that you were a lady and you were taught to behave like one. These girls are being taught to be fucking savages. They're taught to behave like men, and they're taught to not respect men. So you have the black man who on a lot of levels, he needs some work. We both need some work, but the black man has become more feminine. The black woman want to tell the black man what to do. And so now we're bickering with each other, and we're bickering why these white folks is laughing at us, because they're the ones that got us thinking that we don't want each other. I love black men.
Remember we said a few shows ago, that feminist shit. These white women got the black woman aboard. Yeah, get rid of your man. You don't need him and all that shit like that.
They going home to their man.
We going home to some kids. We going home to some kids, and that's it. They going home to their families.
Right. And even on TikTok, like y'all know I'm on TikTok, right? I'm gonna have to take that shit off my phone. I'm taking it off my phone. I'm taking that shit off my phone.
Send it though. I like it.
I be watching these black platforms, and they're promoting nothing but black love, anything black is positive. And you'll see these white people pop up on their posts and tell them, like one lady was telling this black girl that she needed to rephrase that because it was offensive to her and she's trying to help the community. And the lady was like, bitch, did nobody ask you to come? This is a space for black people. And that's the problem. Like, again, we let these white people, these pink toes come in here and invade our black spaces. And then once they get in our spaces, they want to dictate how to do it. I was watching another TikTok and this lady was basically talking about how on Facebook, this lady had formed this book club. and it was a black women's only book club, and it was specifically geared towards Black people. The lady that started was biracial, but the space was just for Black women, and she was saying how these Black men were like really petitioning them to let their white girlfriends, white wives, everything into the space, and they basically were telling them that they were being racist because they wouldn't allow the white women in there, and so much so that the lady would have, I think she said once a month the lady would have something at her house where you would have to bring $10 and some wine or something like that, but it would be a gathering once a month at her house. They would try to show up at her house with wine, trying to make her have these white women, they weren't even, she didn't specifically say white, but non-Black women in the house, and the lady was like, I don't give a damn what y'all say. I said what I said, and you're not going to force me to have anybody in my house that I don't want in my house. And a lot of times we find these white people invading our Black spaces. So then what they do is they come in, and then you have these Negroes who are trying to placate them and trying to defend why they're in there. A Black space is a Black space. And if I don't agree with Kennard or Will or Ebony, when a white person come in here, bitch, we about to all jump on you till we put you out. And then we can disagree with each other once we put you out. But nigga, this is a united front when somebody who does not look like us is up in here. And that's what we need to get to. We're a united front. We don't have to agree with each other. We can talk shit about each other. But what you can't do is your white ass cannot come up in here trying to dictate and determine how our Black space looks to accommodate you. Bitch, get out of here. And then once you get out, then we have a talk.
I just saw basically the same thing. It was this Black woman talking about she had joined, she's a runner. So she had joined this group called Black Women Run, and they meet up and everything. And she said as soon as she get there, it was only 5 of them, 2 of them were white. And then it was exhausting because guess what? You still got the microaggressions and all of that stuff. Why do you have to explain why your hair's wrapped up and stuff like that? So it's like you're going to force yourself into the small spaces that we have just for ourselves. It's greed. It's fucking greed. Yep. You have the whole fucking world.
Oh, but I think it's also them trying to control something so that they make sure that we don't remote on their ass.
You can be anywhere, but you still want to take the little small shit that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's the society we live in. Is because we don't want to do shit on our own. We more liberal. That's the problem with Black folks, is that we so busy being liberal compared to being militant. It's because you get shunned for being militant, like the Panthers did, or like Malcolm was shunned for being militant, but they okay with King, they okay with
they're okay with their version of Dr. King. They ain't okay with real King. They're okay with their version of who he was.
Right, because there was 2 sides to that man.
It was more than that, but
side, and then there was the peaceful side, which the way I saw the peaceful side to me was to protect Black people. It's because this is a fight you ain't gonna win. These motherfuckers got guns, and y'all sitting up there, y'all just marching and shit, and y'all ain't got a line of defense. So it's best to be peaceful, so that way everybody can live to see the next day. But that's another story.
It seemed like he took the way that was most easiest for Blacks, for white people, but I digress.
I don't necessarily I think that people do I think that he did what he thought was best. Just like I think Malcolm did what he thought was best. Like both of them were effective because they both got a point across. They just did 2 different things, but their intent was the same. And at the end, Dr. King said, he was like, I believe I'm trying to integrate my people into a burning building. Like he knew then that segregation we should have stayed segregated, and we should have been lobbying for something different. But that's not the narrative. When they talk about Dr. King, that's not the narrative they tell. And they're so fucking dirty. Like even yesterday, they're talking about him cheating. Like at the end of the day, he's a man, he's human. If he fucked 50 white women, what he did for the civil rights movement does not change that. Who he was to the civil rights movement, that doesn't change anything. So why are we talking about how many women he slept with? Because none of that changes the fact. First of all, his wife is dead and he's gone. So all you have is his children. So part of his legacy that you want to keep on reliving is that part. And why does that part matter? It doesn't even matter.
Because Black folks ain't gonna stand up and say nothing against it, unless it's a thing where some white person then came and say his statue, I think in Birmingham, no, is it Selma? Atlanta, okay. Say if some white person came and sprayed some graffiti or some shit or pissed on on his statue, and that got some media attention, that's when niggas is gonna act a fool. But
I've seen black people act a fool. I've seen black people act a fool, but then you have these black folks that ain't, what is it? Skin folk that ain't our kin folk. I'm like literally seeing them like going to beefing with black folks about we're gatekeeping, like how the fuck, like we're gatekeeping or we're racist. Like this is black lady that's on TikTok right now. I want to fight her so bad. She's like basically saying that black people are racist and we're being racist towards white. Like all her shit. It's two of them actually. It's two of them, and they're pandering to white women in these black spaces. And they're not saying like, bitch, if you don't like it, like scroll. Why are you in black TikTok anyway? Why are you over here? But since you're over here, shut the fuck up and have a seat. But they're entertaining. They're entertaining them, and they're having more dialogue with these white people in these black spaces than they should. So again, that's why I say we need to get rid of those kind of people, and then we need to have a meeting with each other and understand that there's nothing better than a black man for a black woman and a black woman for a black man, because
I totally agree.
We're the original. So when you get two originals together, you can have anything. But even if you decide that you might be attracted to somebody that's not a black woman, and that's cool. But don't fucking disrespect the black woman and don't disrespect the black man. And I think that's where the point we have to get to. I don't care if it's a black man disrespecting a black woman or a black woman disrespecting a black man. You don't do that shit in public. And every time that you do it, we're going to call you out on it, because some shit just needs to be in private, because all this beefing on TikTok and all this shit y'all say, this is just fodder for white folks to look at and comment or feel like they, because now you're giving them permission to feel like they can come into this space and try to defend or have a say. But you don't have a say in this. You have no say in this. But we're giving you a platform because now we're on social media where anybody can come in and voice their opinion. Right. We need to stop doing that.
I said that a couple of shows ago, having our own locker room and no one coming in there. We letting people just just walk through and say what they want to say, sit down and have conversations about it.
And if you let them in, we're going to beat your ass for letting them in. Like, that's just
exactly.
That's how this going to go.
I totally agree with it. We should do that.
We don't have that type of loyalty to one another today, that respect for one another today. We don't have that solidarity. See, that's why I was all for, and I still am all for segregation. It's because when it's just us, all we got to depend on is us.
That's right.
Right. Segregation. We all knew where we stood on American soil. We all were discriminated against. It didn't make a difference how much money you made or nothing. You were still treated the same. See, but once you integrate, that gives some of us the illusion that we higher than our counterparts. We got a little more money, so we better than you. We got more than you. I got more gold chains. I got a Rolls Royce. I got this car.
But that's the point, though.
It's an illusion.
That's some of it, a point of it, because they give us that. They know who to give that money to. They know who to give the gold to. They know who to give that to. They know they can't give. No. You give Alicia $1 billion, she gonna sit up and make all black high schools. She can't have it.
Right. We're going after. I'm about to
right. That's what I'm saying. They know exactly who to give it to. They're gonna give it to somebody that's gonna say, "Oh, a black person is like, man, fuck all y'all. I got my bread. I'm gone. Y'all should."
Well, I don't even think it's that real. I think it's when you give it to, like, let's take the athletes. When you ain't never had shit and you get all this money.
Yeah.
You don't want to go from poverty to being rich again. Like that's scary. So it's a lot of fear, because you don't even have to be rich when you talk about how we live. Like, it's a lot of people that live in the bracket that we live in. Like, you don't want to lose your house. You don't want to lose your car. You don't want. So people are ruled by fear and the fear of losing material things. So you have these people that are like scared. I know it's wrong, but I'm not gonna move too quick because I got this. I got shit to lose. And it's real, and we have to acknowledge that shit is real. So when we acknowledge that, and it's a very valid feeling, it's a valid thought. So now what are we gonna do? Because when you talk about King and Malcolm and all of them, one thing that they did that we didn't do, and it's the worst thing that we don't do now, they stuck together. If they march and somebody needed a ride, or they march and somebody lost their job, like the community came together and made sure that their kids were fed, they had, like, everybody worked together for everybody to have something.
That was the village. The village is there.
And
the village. That's what the village means.
The village is burned down, and we don't have that anymore. We have to create that now. And again, I know, excuse me for sounding like a flower child, but we need to be expressing to each other how much we love and respect. Like we need that. That needs to be a narrative every day that we pass each other. I love and I respect you. You ain't even got to do nothing. Brother, I love you. I respect you. Everybody, I love and respect you. Will, I love and respect you. Kanad, I love and respect you. And that needs to be our tone until we get into our minds that we love and respect each other. Because what that's going to breed is contention. That will not contention. That's going to breed love. And once I love you, and once I understand that you love and respect me, and I love and respect you, nigga, if I love and respect you like I love and respect my son, y'all already heard what I'm gonna do about my kids. So what I'm gonna do about my kid, let's go to jail. Kanard gonna bail us out because we already know Kanard ain't going to jail. He ain't Kanard ain't about that life.
No,
so
Kanard say he gonna run down there in the morning and get us out.
I need to tell you how my real New Year's resolutions, because Kanard like, oh no.
I ain't doing none of that shit. I ain't going.
I told Kanard I was gonna steal him a plant last week, and he wouldn't even let me give him a piece of plant.
Hell no, don't bring that shit.
Like, man, don't do. He say told Tamika, don't do that shit. No. We all gonna be in jail.
I'll go ahead and sit up in the yard and lift weights if you want to.
Hey, and roll bugles. Roll bugles in jail.
But I'm saying, but if we get to that point, we understand. Like even when you look at the structure of the Black Panthers or any other like structured organization, like they knew who could do what. Not everybody can go to jail. I don't mind going to jail. I don't mind fighting. You're gonna need some academics. You're gonna need people to do different things. And until we get to a point where we understand not everybody is a fighter, but we gotta start by loving and respecting each other to a point that I'm gonna do you like I would do my brothers. Like I wouldn't let nobody hurt my brothers. I'd kill anybody about my brothers or my mother. Anybody that I love, I'm liable to fuck around. I'm fuck around and find out. That, and that's just where I'm living right now because I don't fear. There's nothing for me to fear. What's gonna happen to me is gonna happen to me. But I think that once we all get that collective thought that whatever's gonna happen to us is gonna happen to us, and some of us are gonna have to die behind it. But I'd rather die to liberate us than just die a natural death. Like nigga, let's go. If my kids can be free, if your kids can be free, if people can actually be in a space where we can actually be fucking, we can't even be fucking Black in a space. We don't even have that.
It's true.
So why?
You got white folks telling Black women, Black men and Black women, they're not Black enough because they're light skinned.
Yeah.
How? Why do you even think that that's something that you? How are you the authority on that? How are you to tell me that I'm not black enough because I'm light skinned, or I'm like you? I'm like you.
Don Imus came out and was talking about the nappy headed hoe shit. It's because it's a space. You remember that shit?
I remember that.
I'm saying that.
I remember that.
White folks don't fear Black people anymore. That shit been over.
They never feared us.
You know what?
They ain't never feared us.
I think I think it's mixed. I think it's mixed because it's like they have a fear of what we can do.
They have a fear of us united.
But they also, because they've created so much conflict in our, with us. But shit, I lost my whole train of thought, y'all. Give me one goddamn minute.
Stop putting a drug.
So damn high.
Girl, no, never.
Right.
No.
Did you just tell that lie? What I'm trying
to say is it's mixed. They don't fear us because they feel that they got us, they got us locked.
Yeah.
But the reason they got us locked because of the fear of what we'll do if they don't.
Exactly.
That's why they keep on invading our spaces, because they don't want us to become, they don't want us to get, they want to always see what we're talking about because they're scared. If we get together, if Black folks actually got together, and I'm not talking about just Black people in the US, if we actually got together, we'd fuck these white people up because we are not the minority. And once we understand that we're not just Black in America and Africa, we're Black everywhere, we're everywhere.
Right.
Once we realize that, white folks already know that. We still beefing about am I African American because I'm not from Africa. Like nigga, we all look the same at the end of the day. So y'all, that's some bullshit. That's a petty argument to have because I look like some Africans come over here. Y'all ran up on Africans and look like somebody in y'all family. Be like, God damn.
Straight up, and they ran up on here. But see what I will cut you off, Alicia. I want to say this.
Go ahead.
But see, one thing that's kept everybody, see, it's all divide and conquer, because the fact of the matter is it's a whole lot more of us collectively than it is of them collectively. And see, but once you start breaking us down into African, Mexican, Polynesian,
Yeah.
Dominican, Cuban, Mexican, and all this other stuff, once you start breaking it down like that, now we get the idea that we're all separate. So now black folks don't like Mexicans or Puerto Ricans. Okay, Puerto Ricans don't like Cubans. Cubans don't like Polynesians. We all, what we forget is that we all, even to this day, are all equally discriminated against. We are all going through the so-called struggle, on one end or another. Don't think because a couple of us got a couple of chips that the majority of us ain't still poor, ain't still out here hurting. You see what I'm saying? But see, now once you go with the beauty for white folks of integration, when integration came about, when white folks started letting some of us in, then now that just jumbled up everything. Because now you got the delusion there that, oh, okay, you successful, you good because you got money, or because you live here, or you do this, you do that. But you're still black at the end of the day. That's the part you forgot. You are still black, and the world gonna see you as black. The world gonna treat you as black, or Mexican, or Polynesian, or whatever your ethnicity is. You still derive from black. You got people down in South America denying that they're black as shit. Man, like I play baseball. I love baseball. I watch the game. There's guys in the league right now who are jet black.
Yep.
Who will deny that they have any sort of African heritage. It's a whole big thing in South America about it. And it's never went anywhere. See, this is what we're talking about here. And see, that keeps us further separated. Whereas if you had segregation and all of us from coast to coast worldwide were being discriminated against like we once were before, then all of us we have no choice but to unify. We have no choice but to produce Black Wall Street. We have no choice but to have black businesses, because we can't go to theirs. We can't drink.
Actually, but you have to also acknowledge too, Kennard, that while that's true, you have a couple of factors. Like the reality of it is they burned down Black Wall Street. And the reality of that, they burned down, I mean, we talk about racism, but they burned that shit down because while Black Wall Street was making money, hand over fist, they were living better than their white counterparts. They're not going to, the reason they want to integrate us is because we are the biggest consumers. Black folks spend a lot of money. So you have to account for that. And you also have to account for the mental, like all of these people that you just named, they're colonized too. So when you talk about like people that look like, it's no way that you can walk up on a Polynesian or Samoan or anybody, any other indigenous person from anywhere else. It's somebody that looks like somebody in our family.
Straight up.
Yep.
Black as hell or whatever. So they're very clear about who they are. But when you have a choice between being labeled as white, like some Indians are considered, the Indians from India are considered white over here. When you have that choice, fuck yeah, they're gonna pick white. Because why would you pick black? Why would you pick right? So why would you ever pick that? And that's done intentionally. But when you talk about finances and shit like that, like we have to be mentally prepared to do what our ancestors did. And that's one of the things, like I hate these people talking about we not our ancestors. No, nigga, we're not. Our ancestors were a lot more resilient, a lot more strong, a lot more resourceful. We are punks and bitches compared to what our ancestors were. We are. So when you talk about you can get these hands, you're my ancestors, we're talking about our ancestors who you talking about the Maroons and stuff. Like there were whole revolts that our ancestors led and killed a bunch of white folks and slave owners and that. But we talk about our ancestors as if they just allowed shit to happen and now we gonna come back and do some shit. Like we're the originally weird weirdos. Like we're fucking weird. We're weird because we have all the tools in order to do what our ancestors did on a whole different level. But we're so weird that we know the shit is wrong and we know we have access to it, but we don't want to fucking touch it because we too busy on TikTok, like me, on TikTok, you know, or doing some other shit that you're doing, and we're weirdos now. But we talk about our ancestors, and that gets on that grates my nerves because we talk about our ancestors as if they were some fucking cowards and punks, like they just let the shit happen and nobody did shit, and like you gonna get these hands, bitch. You won't even get out your house to throw no hand. You gotta come out the house to throw hands.
That's all the fuck we could do. Why don't you take your fucking hands and build up a community center? Take your fucking hands and build up an apartment complex or some shit for the homeless. Instead, you worried about fighting. It's always about confrontation that don't prove shit. Because after you got done whooping up on some white motherfucker, guess what? He go back to his white neighborhood where he got a boat in the backyard, he got a pool, he got this, he got that, he got money out the wazoo, and you go back to the fucking hood where you depending on government handouts.
We can still whoop them though. We can still whoop them.
It ain't gonna prove shit. What the fuck?
But let me tell you why I say we can whoop them. Let me tell you, this is my theory, right? Okay. My theory is once we get over that fear, because it's a fear there. It's a reason why we can. It's more of us than white folks. We all know it.
Mm-hmm. It is.
We're traumatized, right? We're traumatized.
It is. There's 7 billion people on the planet. If we start probably like 6 billion, 7 billion, some odd people.
Right. And the majority of them look like us. So if we start whooping white folks, that's gonna set off a reaction. Nigga, that's gonna hey, wake up. It's time for y'all to get up because not all white folks are bad. We're gonna treat all y'all like y'all bad because I can't afford this. I can't. It's imperative to my people that I don't distinguish between the two. So if you're an ally, go over there, sit down and be quiet, leave us the fuck alone. But anybody that come towards us, you gotta get it. And once we start fighting, you know the old saying, once you start fighting, maybe you ain't gonna stop. So maybe it's gonna take for us to start knocking down a couple of white folks to get us started in the right direction. Like, but at the same time, we also have to remember that when we talk about segregation, like I definitely think that segregation is the best thing, but we also have to have farming.
Yeah, we do.
We have to be able to be in a position where we're living independently of all their shit. Like you can't separate and need their shit too. It can't be both ways. So we have to have a plan where how are we gonna separate and what we're gonna do, because we can't whoop their ass and then say we need your shit. It don't work.
Right. It don't work that way. It's like this. It's like a therapist. If you go to a therapist, anybody that been abused, the first thing they would say, you need to get out of their home and go somewhere else and reside. Right. That's a rape victim. That's somebody that been battered, whether they're a child or adult. You have to have separation. So, and that's coming from their theory. Mm-hmm. You have to have separation.
But they also know we don't have anywhere to go. Like
exactly.
Like us in here, like all of us we weren't all brought over here. Our ancestors were not all slaves, but we don't even know where we come from. So okay, where will we retreat to? On top of the fact that these 23andMe, all these DNA tests, why the fuck are we paying for DNA tests when we're stolen people?
God, I was just gonna say that.
We're stolen people. Why are you all not paying for us to know that
shit? Like they am I on mute? No, sorry. Why the fuck are we paying for those tests? If you motherfuckers was really all that altruistic and shit as you make it seem, why the fuck are we paying to find out find out something y'all took from us?
You want to know why? I got an answer for that. Because most of us were indigenous to this land, which means that if they find out that we're indigenous to this land, then they got to give us the same thing that they gave to the Native Americans, which means
I totally agree with you.
Y'all got to roll out. Y'all got to go now. Y'all got to go because it's not.
Can you imagine Alicia going to the White House with a black marker carving out America? She gonna be like, you know what? All this here, this is all mine. This is our people right here.
I'm going with some gasoline cans. But you know what? We gonna blow that bitch up. We're blowing all of it up.
Hey, I ain't mad at you because I'm gonna secure the door and let you go in and burn it down. I'm with you on that, and they better not touch you either. I ain't gonna lie. They better not touch you.
As long as it burns, that shit.
No, they ain't finna touch you.
I'm telling you, look, I don't mind.
Burn it all down.
That stuff is on the backs of people that look like us, period. It's on the backs of those statues and all that shit is made from our ancestors. That shit all needs to go. How y'all living? I bet y'all, it's probably furniture in there right now with our ancestors' hair in them goddamn pillows. I bet y'all in the money.
Absolutely.
I bet y'all in the money.
But look, be that as it may, and there are a lot of us that were here already, that does not take away from the fact that there were just as many brought over. And why, I mean, whatever's going to be found out is going to be found out anyway, because it's being done in such an underhanded way. It can't go on for that much longer.
Right.
Nope. I mean, you can look at it now. I mean, America haven't been America that long, and they haven't been caught in the cookie jar. That's sad. One, they didn't do it the right way. They didn't really war over the land properly. They didn't war over the land properly. Like most people in war, they conquer. Huh?
The foundation, because of the very way this country was founded, what it was built on, it's bound to fail anyway.
Exactly. I totally agree with that.
And I think that's a lot of the stuff that's coming on, that's happening. It's like the beginning of the end. All empires fall. And whether people want to think about it or not, this is still an empire.
Right. I totally agree.
Fuck all this democracy, the Republic of it's an empire.
Yeah, but
it's gonna crumble from inside out.
We need to be figuring out what our next step is.
Under its own weight.
Right.
But we need to figure out what our next move is, and ain't no us if we don't get us together. Like we can't continue to go back. Like the shit that I hear black women and black men arguing about, like the shit is bullshit. Like
it is. I totally agree with you.
We gotta do better. We gotta do better than arguing over shit that really don't make a difference. Like it don't care. No, it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't matter. And when you talk about the grand scheme of shit that we got going on, that shit that we arguing about, man,
it's
check
bullshit.
the white holes and check them white folks and stop letting these white folks talk to us any kind of way. Anything else, then we need to come together and we need to come up with a plan and understand that we love each other. And that's the bottom line. And we can't do shit without each other. Like we ain't gonna y'all go fuck around in them other neighborhoods if y'all want to, but just like you got them Puerto Ricans that don't believe that they black, that's black as me. Yeah, Puerto Rican is not a nationality. That's just that's like saying I'm an American. American don't mean me, I'm white.
Right.
I'm black in America. You're fucking black in Puerto Rico. You're black in Cuba. Like you're still fucking black. And we need to understand that those divisions are the reason that we can't come along. Because I don't care whether you speak Spanish, French, Creole,
Alicia,
Fiji, whatever.
I totally agree with you. I believe it's people in our own on the inside of us that's around us know that. Because if you get certain black people around each other, we gather around each other and we do things properly, we're going to discipline the people that's was been doing it wrong anyway, that look like us.
You know who we need, where we need to go and where we need to talk to? We need to talk to them fucking Haitians. All bullshit aside, that's where we need to go. I'm not, you laughing, but I'm being dead.
I totally.
I'm being dead ass. Do you know that Haiti, when them slaves went over to Haiti, Haiti told them they wasn't sending shit back. They wasn't stolen goods. It was people. You know that Haiti just stopped paying off Europe for them slaves. Our ancestors that went over there, they just stopped paying them off in I think in the last 10 years. They just paid Europe off. Europe made them pay for everybody that they accepted and they wouldn't return. Haitians ain't no fucking punk. Them Geechees, them Maroons down south, we need to get them all together. We need to figure out what the fuck they got going on, and we need to implement. We need to figure out what they're doing, because right now what we doing, we some pussies. Like we some whole pussies. Like we need to be fucked, because we getting exactly what we looking for. Because we soft, we sorry, and we fucking cry. Everything to go on. If you ain't marching, you on Twitter. Like why the fuck?
We content with you know what I'm saying, getting a little piece of what we think is a piece of the pie.
Yeah, American pie.
It's not what
That's what they be saying.
You know,
I believe they be thinking like that. They be like, "Oh, we be nice to them, they ain't gonna bother us."
Shit,
Good Negroes, some good Negroes, and we pick cotton a little faster. Just a little faster. Master ain't gonna whoop us today.
They still have cotton fields, like no bullshit.
Oh yeah, they do.
As far as your eyes can see.
Just heard about what happened in Georgia. They busted a real a whole slavery ring. They were taking immigrants, making them work on the plantation, raping the women, beating the men. They even killed somebody. Yeah, this just happened in Georgia.
That was this week. They found them, didn't know last week.
I ain't know that.
This was around the end of December. That was around the end of December.
Yeah, they sure did. They sure in the fuck did.
And I mean,
a whole ring of immigrants.
But see, that's what I'm saying, is because while you know these illegal immigrants are so Gideon getting up in this country, just know that, if you're not documented, anything can happen to you.
But you got to think about how it is in their country that they willing to take a risk like that.
Right, but it's
True.
guys that come over here and take another risk.
Because you know
But, I mean, that
what
gotta be
you
the
know what's
lesson
going
to
on.
you.
Like in Mexico, they people doing the same thing these Negroes do to us here,
Straight up.
and that's the problem.
Nobody talks about that shit though. And trust me, it's not just what they do down here. Like I said, right across Cermak is them Kings and whoever else is over there. Them
Two
Spanish,
sixes,
whatever.
them 2 6s. I already know what you talking about.
You know them. They shoot at each other all night,
All day long.
Wow.
I grew up over there. I know exactly what you're talking about. All up and down 26th Street, all the time.
Where are the men in the
Because
community?
they take that shit way more serious.
But where are the
Very
men?
seriously.
There's no men in that community like you. There's nothing in those communities. Them boys act like that because they're, even when you talk about gang leadership, like you got young boys leading young boys. There are no men telling them shit.
Hey, y'all, look. I don't want to cut y'all off, but we got to roll